So there are two different strategies that I've used in two different points of my career, and it's really starkly different. Um, the first point is when I was still in college, when I was looking for my first job, and the second is after a few years in the job market and looking for an even better job. So when you're still in college and you're looking for a job, it's really important to start building your network. And it's typically hard for certain people. I find that when I was in college, I always thought I was a pretty extroverted person, but because I've never been to, or I don't normally go to different school club events. Once I started looking for internships and looking for jobs, I didn't know how to interact in networking sessions just because it seems like other people always know other people already, and I'm the new person walking in the room. So I'm really glad that during that time, I think it was when LinkedIn first started gaining traction. So I made a LinkedIn account and I started reaching out to people who recently, it's easiest if you reach out to people who recently, as a college student, you should reach out to people who recently graduated from college and are in the field that you're interested in. Those people really helped answer my questions and help introduce me to other people that are still in college who, let's say, are just landed the internship that helped me prep me to apply for my first internship. And eventually these people also helped me understand how to gain my first job after college as well, and help me start expanding my connection there. And as a professional in the job market, the best way to continue to find an even better job is to always, again, expand your network, always be involved in different, let's say, like research conferences, different opportunities where you can share your knowledge with others, and also hear from others. That's one of the best ways I feel like to develop your skills in UX research, because again, there's so many different ways to excel in this career. There's so many different methods that you can continue to learn more about. So it's really important to be part of that and to learn from others to expand your knowledge. Yeah, so nearly all UX research interviews that I have personally been part of, or I've helped other colleagues or helped train other people to take part in, involves a project that you have to work on at home and then present later on within the interview. That's usually the biggest part of the interview. That involves creating a research brief for a particular product they're launching or a question that they want answered. So you'd have to be prepared to understand what the product that they're measuring and what metrics would be important to measure and how UX research methods could answer that. The biggest tip that I would have for that is don't try to do more than you know. Often the biggest mistake that candidates do is they tend to drop all of the UX research methodologies or only mention a few and talk a lot about different analytics type studies that they would run, which is beyond what really we're looking for in UX research methods. So always during those interviews, just always truly understand what the KPIs are, and focus on the methods that you know that you think would best answer those, or would best answer or would best illustrate those KPIs. And usually some of the other questions that would be asked during the interview is how well you work with cross-functionally, because UX researchers, as you've seen throughout the presentation earlier, do work with product, engineering, marketing, and a whole host of other teams in the company. So it's really important to find someone who's able to have the soft skills that allows them to work well cross-functionally. And another thing is, again, if you're in a larger company, most of the technical questions will focus on the skills that you have for what they're currently looking for. If they're looking for a qualitative researcher, I'll focus deeply on interviews and ethnographies. if they're looking for a quantitative researcher, I'll focus on surveys and statistical testing. And in a smaller company, most of the technical questions will focus on your ability to integrate different research methods to a very lean product development cycle. Once you're in the career, you start as, of course, either like a UX researcher or a UX research associate, and typically you would be the one in charge of running the majority of the studies, determining the research questions, and fully executing on it. And as you develop in your career, you would focus more on determining what type of research methods is needed to answer the bigger questions in the product roadmap. For an entry level UX researcher, typically what's looked at is an experience or a degree in social sciences, including psychology, economics, anthropology, so really research heavy social science degrees. There has been a shift where the research is focused on, let's say if it's more focused on heuristics, you need some experience in computer science or cognitive science, not necessarily programming, but being able to understand analysis like decision trees and basic statistics, so p-values and other forms of statistical testing like regression models. So having taken a few classes on it and being able to converse about it, I believe is enough to get you through the first few interviews as an entry-level user researcher. Another thing that you would need is really passion to excel in this field. It's a very new field and a lot of people are getting into it, even if they don't necessarily have the degrees or experiences that is expected within the job description. So always don't be afraid to apply, but just really exemplify the interest and the interest in that you have in making a difference in the field. So really developing the user empathy and designing even experiments on the side, even though you don't run them, to determine how you can help the company improve their understanding of the user. Some of the challenges that I face is understanding what the users are saying at a specific time. And this is consistent throughout any research that you do that's moderated. So that means you're actually talking to the users in real time and it's not a survey or a pre-recorded video. I think we all have an internal desire to please people. So when you test products with users, they come in, they develop some sort of relationship with you because you're in the room at the same time, and maybe they try to hide certain feedback because they don't want to hurt your feelings, or maybe they don't feel comfortable, maybe they're worried about the car parking their car because they don't know whether they really paid for it. There's just so many distractions at that time, so it's really difficult to understand what the motivation of the users are, what they're truly saying, what are they really telling the truth. And this is a skill that develops over time. I think now I'm starting to pay more attention to social cues. So if it seems like they're rambling and they're not really there, they're looking at their watch a lot, those minor social cues usually tell you that maybe they're not fully within the session, and it will help you consider that as you analyze the insights from that particular session. Another way that you can determine if users are not really paying attention or if they're not really telling the truth is finding ways to ask the question several times within the session in different ways. And you'd be surprised that most of the times the answers changes, which usually means that either they don't have a strong opinion on something or perhaps they didn't really understand the first question. So really one of the most difficult thing to understand is human behavior. So it's a huge challenge in the role, but as you continue in the role, there are ways to help alleviate these challenges and really get to the bottom of understanding the users.